Hi there, in this video you're going to learn how to find the volume of prisms. Your objectives for today are to find the volume of prisms and to find volumes of composite figures. Alright, so first thing you need to know is, let's skip that and move on to this first. First you need to know what volume actually is. So volume is the measure of space occupied by a 3D region. It is measured in cubic units. So whatever the units are, could be like centimeters. You would have a centimeters cubed, so like the number 3 next to the centimeters, okay? In other words, volume is another way of saying the amount of space inside of a 3D solid, okay? That's a lot easier to think about than in here, right? All right, so let's start with this formula. Volume equals big B, capital B, times H. Now, something that you need to know is capital B stands for the area of the base, okay? Don't confuse this with the lowercase b, which means the length of the base. All right, so we need to understand that this big B is whatever your area of your base is. So if you're finding the volume of a triangular prism, this big B, you're going to look for the area of the triangle base, right, times the height. Let's look at some examples. Find the volume of the rectangular prism. So let's start with our formula. Volume equals capital B, so this is the base, this is the area of the base, right? So the area of this base times your height, okay? So if you're finding the area of this base right here, okay, that's what big B stands for, you would do 3 times 4.2, right? Or, right, it would be length times width, right? So you would have that for your area for the base, and then you would multiply it by your height. So length times width times height, okay? So now we can actually solve. So 3 times 4.2 times your height, which is 5. Or that ends up being, after you multiply, 63. So in other words, the volume is 63 cubic centimeters. In other words, inside this box, right, the volume is 63 cubic centimeters. Okay, let's look at our next example. Find the volume of the triangular prism. So for this, you have volume equals capital B, this is the area of your base, times your height. Okay, so let's choose one of the bases. So it doesn't really matter which one. I'll choose this one just because it's at the bottom. Okay, so you're finding the area of this triangle. If you remember, prisms have two congruent bases, right? So two congruent bases or faces, both are the same, that are parallel to each other. So this is congruent to this, okay? So the area of our base, the area of this triangle, we would do 1/2 times your length here, which is 2, times your height, which is 6, right? So this is the area of a triangle. This is the area of this triangle. How am I going to find the area? There's 2 right here, times 6, times 1/2. Okay, and now you want to look at your height. So your height, you're talking about the height of the actual prism itself. So this is a whole prism, right? And this is the height of the prism. So the height is 7. Sorry. All right, sorry about that. So your height ends up being 7. So then you would do 1/2 times 6, which is 3, times 2 to get 6, right? And 6 times 7 gets you 42. So the volume is 42 cubic centimeters. All right, our next example. A room air conditioner can cool a room with a volume of 1,600 cubic feet. If a room has a height of 8 feet and a length of 16 feet, what is the maximum width of the room? So first thing you need to have is the formula. Volume is equal to the area of your base times your height. Okay, so let's replace this area of our base, right? The formula would be length times width and then times height. Okay, so we're told that its volume is 1,600 cubic feet. So we are given our volume. Let's replace V with 1,600, okay? The room has a height of 8 feet. So we're going to plug in the height for 8. Okay. And then it says a length of 16 feet. So our length we're going to plug in as 16, and we're missing our width. So now we can simplify this side of the equation and then solve. So first let's do 16 times 8 times W. 16 times 8 gets you 128 times W. Divide both sides by 128 and you end up getting 12.5 to be W. So the maximum width of the room is 12.5 feet. All right, let's look at how we can find volume of composite figures. You can find the volume of composite 3D figures by breaking them into smaller pieces. So if we have this ramp here, and we're trying to find the volume, okay, we see that the solid is made up of a triangular prism. So right here is our triangular prism, and this rectangular prism. The volume of the solid is the sum of both of these volumes, okay? So if we find the volume of the triangular prism first, find the volume of the rectangular prism, and then just add the volumes together, okay? So let's start off with our volume formula. Volume is equal to capital B times height, okay? So this is the area of our base. So we know this is a triangular prism, so our base is a triangle. So it would be 1/2 times your length times your width, or 1/2 times base times height, however you know how to do the triangle formula, okay? So it would be 1/2 times 10 times 2, okay? Again, 1/2 times 10 times 2, okay? And now your height of the actual prism itself, so the height of this whole thing, right, is actually considered 3, because that's how we're talking about the height of the whole prism, not just the height of the triangle. Okay, this is the height of the triangle. That's not the height of the whole thing. Okay, in other words, if we were to turn this so that the triangle would be down on the table, the height would be 3 here. Okay, so let's solve. 1/2 of 10 is 5, times 2 is 10, times 3, and you end up getting 30. Let's look at our rectangular prism. So here's a rectangular prism. Let's find the area of our base. You have to do length times width for that, right? And then you would multiply the height. So let's do that. So our length is 6 times our width, which is 2, times our height, which is 3. Just multiply all 3 of those together. 6 times 3 is 18, times 2 gets you 36. So now we add 30 plus 36 to get 66 cubic feet. Okay, volume of the triangular prism is 30. Volume of the rectangular prism is 36. Add them together to get 66. All right, so just some concluding thoughts. Volume is the amount of space inside of a solid. Volume of Prism's formula is volume is equal to capital B, so this is the area of the base, times your height. All right, I hope you learned how to find volume of prisms. Thank you for watching.